everyone, and welcome to the Atomic Cinema Experiment. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Tara.
Greetings, citizens.
This is a science fiction movie podcast, and we've had it too easy on this show, because if you go over to the sister podcast, which is Screams After Midnight that I do with Tim, the horror movie podcast, you'll know that I would say the majority of the movies we cover on that show are mediocre to painful. And we have it's almost like when we find a good movie, we're like, oh my god, a good movie, and we're crying with tears of happiness, and it's so good.
It's right? A 10.
This podcast, we have been too easy on ourselves. We have been like, picking, this do, Clockwork Orange, this do Alien, we've been picking all these classics or gems from the past that we know we like already for the most part. And the few times we've went, let's do a movie from the last year or so that's, went to Netflix or went to Amazon or something, and they've not been great. We kind of veered away from it, I fear. And I'm here to say today that, no, we have to commit to actually covering some new movies occasionally. And we'll find some gems.
I really don't want to do Gemini Man.
Oh, we have to, though. We have to do Gemini Man at some point. So today we're going to do arguably the newest, maybe not counting like a Netflix straight to release or something that's happened since.
Probably the best science fiction movie of 2020.
Well, the fact that nothing came out after March means that there's not a lot of competition. Although arguably Sonic's a sci-fi movie, technically.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
I did. It's
do we have to review it then?
Where do people want us to review? I mean, I saw it, and he's technically an alien in it who's traveled from another planet, so it's kind of sci-fi, I guess.
Okay.
But we're here to talk about Bloodshot. We're here to talk about Vin Diesel's latest vehicle, and that's a regular term in Hollywood for an actor who gets like a movie just for them to be a star. That's not a pun because he's the star of Fast and the Furious 1 and then 4 through 9. Soon to be 10. Or 8 soon to be 9 and then soon to be 10 because they've already started shooting the last one. Anyway, point is that Vin Diesel is in here. It's based on a comic book, a Valiant comic book, which I was familiar with the name of, but I never read it. Valiant's a publisher who kind of relaunched everything early in the decade. Obviously the previous decade, not this one that just started. And they kind of did this thing where they relaunched all their main books, and Bloodshot was one of them. And I think when I heard about it, I thought it was a vampire-y thing, maybe because of the title, I thought it was like a vampire soldier or something like that. And it's not really vampire. There's blood related, but it's not vampire-y. It's in fact, it's more science fiction, obviously, which is why we're doing it. It's just nanites and technology and wacky super soldier technology and all that stuff. So yeah, so we'll start spoiler free as we always do. We'll give you a warning before we get into spoilers somewhere in the middle. And there is actually surprisingly a fairly big thing to spoil in this if you don't know the premise, like in depth.
If you haven't watched the trailer.
I never saw that. Well, I think I did see the trailer at some point, but I don't remember. So, what is the big reveal in the trailer?
Yeah.
Is it? Oh, jeez. Okay. Well, I'll still save it for spoilers just in case someone wants to go in cold if you really care about Bloodshot. But yeah. So Vin Diesel plays a soldier who dies, and he's brought back in this experimental thingamajig. I mean, the original comic, let's be honest, was probably. I mean, I don't actually know when the original comic before it was rebooted started. But I'm going to go out on a limb here and say it started after RoboCop, and RoboCop might have had a hand in inspiring the idea.
There's some RoboCop elements in here.
But we got a few other things, a few other actors, I should say, in here that you might know. Eiza González, who I only really know from Baby Driver, is in here.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing I've seen her in.
We have Toby Kebbell.
Koba.
Victor Von Doom from Fantastic.
Koba.
He's
all other roles don't exist. He has the worst agent.
He's in a good Black Mirror episode, at least.
That is true.
He's got that to his name.
He just like the other guy, the John Connor guy.
Oh,
I'm always going to root for him.
Jason Isaacs, because they were both in Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Also, Jason Clarke. No, Jason Isaacs is the dude from like the Patriot and Harry Potter and stuff.
Yeah. Star Trek.
And Star Coach, yeah, he was a captain in Discovery. Yes. So you got Toby Kebbell, you got Talulah Riley, who I recognised and then realised what she was from. She's actually a host on Westworld. Not a super big role, but she more prominent in season 1 more than anything. But she's in there. And then you got Lamorne Morris, who I didn't know the name of, but I recognized him and I was like, what's he from? He looks familiar. And he's actually a regular character on New Girl, because I saw some of that show at some point. So so he plays like kind of the one of the nerdy guys in here, the techies. But so you have series of recognizable faces, and then to top it all off, you have Guy Pearce, who's running the whole super soldier program. It's not called that, of course, but that's what I'm calling it, because I'll be damned if I can remember what they called it in the movie. I don't remember.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but they're all like wounded warriors.
Yeah, everyone who's in it is someone there's like a guy who's lost his legs, so he's got like, mech legs, and then there's a guy who lost his eyesight. So they gave him what I'll basically call Geordie vision. He can see stuff in a more fancy way now with his implants. He doesn't have the visor,
Right.
but same idea. And then Eiza González is also one of them, and she something happened to her respiratory system, so she's got like a synthetic one. She's got like a metal bit in her chest, and she breathes better than people. I'm not quite sure, because all the other ones seem like they're more advanced in some way than regular humans. I don't know if hers actually gives her a benefit. I don't remember seeing one throughout the movie. Because the guy who has the robotic legs can now like run really fast and jump high and so on and so on. The guy with the eyesight can now see things that humans, he can see infrared, he can see like X-rays and stuff, whatever. Like he can
use external cameras to see all around.
Yeah. You can do a variety of things. And then you got Vin Diesel's character, who gets his body basically turned into nanites, or his blood's turned into nanites or some shit. And he can reform his body, the nanites can repair him for a start, but he can also like access the internet and search things really quickly, because all of his body are made up of little computers essentially. So he can do that. I wasn't expecting that part of it.
No, me neither.
I thought it was going to be indestructible, but I didn't expect him to be like hacking into things like the Terminatrix from Terminator 3, that film, that sequel.
Oh, there is a lot of parallels to that, huh? Isn't she also kind of nanite-ish?
She had like liquid metal over her skeleton, so I don't know if she was quite nanites. Nanites was John Connor in Genesis, the Jason Clarke one.
Gross.
He was the nanite one.
Yeah. I'm just remembering the scene where she's like attached to that magnetic thing and she's kind of coming apart like she's made of particles rather than liquid.
I think the Hadron Collider was doing that to the liquid metals, as opposed to actually being, because the rest of it was definitely liquid metal at the T1000.
Well, I'm not going to watch it again, so I'll take your word for it.
Neither am I. Until one day there's some sort of weird goal because people want us to do a commentary, because our conversation was so beloved that people want us to do a
lot of people watch that video.
It's the most successful Ace episode we have on YouTube. So, there you go. People like the Terminator 3 discussion, I guess.
Or they thought it was a copy of the movie.
Because people can't read the word review. That's a problem on YouTube for some reason, and I'm not sure why. But anyway, so that's the basic setup of the movie. And Vin Diesel, during the opening, we have a very kind of like 80s, 90s action movie setup where he comes back from being a soldier and he's attacked with some bad guys because of the mission he was on, and his wife is killed. And that's not a spoiler, that's the setup of the movie. And he's killed as well, actually, basically right after. And he wakes up and he kind of goes off script because he wants revenge on the guy who murdered his wife. And that's kind of where the movie goes from there. And there's some twists and turns and things happening and all the rest of it. And it's not like super. What I will say is that about a month and a half ago, Connor actually talked about this movie on Quarantine from the Multiverse, which we were doing kind of because there was no comic book. So we were doing just a general chat about various things we've been doing. And Connor told me the entire plot of this movie, and I'd forgotten all of it, and it had only been like a month. So when it was getting to like some of the reveals, I was like, oh yeah, Connor told me all that. Yeah, I knew all this. This is, what the hell?
Do you like it?
Did he like the movie? I don't think so, no. No. I mean, I only half listened to Connor. I think we all know this. So, but the question is, Tara, did you enjoy the movie?
It's pretty dumb, but it's not entirely unwatchable. The last act is garbage, but some of it's kind of fun. But overall, I mean, it's not a good movie. I hate to be all over the place, but sometimes I was into it. I really wish that the trailer hadn't spoiled something that happens that's a huge reveal about an hour into the movie.
Yeah, it's like halfway through. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like over halfway through that the character gets the big reveal, and I'm just like, okay, I've been waiting the whole hour for this. I already knew.
Yeah, it makes the first
It's
chunk frustrating. Yeah, I get
Yeah.
it. I don't like it. I mean, I can sum it up basically in because I'd forgotten like who put this out, right? So I started the movie, and it comes up saying Sony Pictures, and I went, oh, it's a Sony movie. Okay, it's going to be garbage, and it was exactly as Sony as I expected it to be, because Sony movies, with a couple of rare exceptions, have a very particular feeling to them. They're determined to try and be cool, and this movie is.
Oh, this movie really tries.
It really wants to be cool. The slow motion at times in this movie, because it wants to be badass and it wants to be hip and cool and down with the kids.
I mean, there were some shots where I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, it did feel very try hard.
Yeah,
And the editing was just so
over the place.
like,
It was so quick and
everywhere.
yeah, it didn't flow very well.
Every punch had to have first a slow motion shot, and then you had to see it from the bird's eye view, and then from the fist eye view, and then it's gonna take forever.
Yeah, the editing was all over the place. I was not a fan of how it flowed either. Which honestly, if you're going to do this sort of generic action, at least start to the movie before it goes other places. I would say that I want to enjoy the action part. Like I'll get into it as a B movie. Like I love tons of B movie actions and sci-fi stuff from the 80s and 90s, but I think I don't think it works in this hyper like we want to be cool in 2020 version of a movie. I find myself rolling my eyes, and the sad part is that I actually, and I can't really talk about why, but until spoilers. But the sad thing is that I actually do think there's potential in the core concept of what's happening in the movie. I could see a really good dramatic.
You get that in the trailer, like
Yeah.
the trailer makes it seem like that's something that's figured out pretty quickly, and then you get the consequences of that throughout the whole film. But not really.
Did you watch the trailer just before you watched the movie? I'm curious.
No, I watched the trailer like at a theater back when we still had theaters, and you can go out to watch a movie in a shared room. And I remember seeing the trailer and thinking, it's probably going to be dumb, but it's kind of a cool concept for a sci-fi movie. Maybe I'll check it out.
I'm shocked you'd remember anything from the trailer if it was that long ago. I'm shocked. But yeah, no, I can see like a really good dramatic version of the core idea in this movie. But it's not interested in being a good dramatic film. It's interested in being, hey, we're cool and slick, and people are going to buy the action figures and the comics because of this movie. And it feels super Sony. It's not a video game adaptation, but if you told me it was, I would have believed you, because it feels just about the same quality as a lot of the video game adaptations. It feels about the level of the first Resident Evil movie, and take that for better or worse. I mean, that's kind of the level it's at.
It is kind of a video game, also. Just the way the movie plays out. I mean, your villains are just so obvious and villainy, and I think maybe Vin Diesel is not a good actor.
I think that's fair. I think he works in certain roles where he doesn't speak as much. You know, he's pretty good as Riddick.
He's so okay. I haven't really watched those movies. I've watched. I think maybe I've seen the first one, but it's been so long. I don't really remember it. At
least from memory, I want to point that out. From memory, I think he was not bad in Riddick, at least the main one. But
I'm not a Fast and Furious person, so I don't really know those movies. I saw Fast or Furious 7. I don't know. I was dragged to it, and it was kind of a fun movie, but it was also all over the place, and it was very much a superhero film. What I'm trying to say is that I don't really know Vin Diesel.
Also, I think a minute ago you said movies. Fast or Furious. I kind of want the last movie in the title to be titled that, because they keep changing how they name those movies. If the last one's called Fast or Furious, I think that's pretty funny. Can't have both.
You can only choose one. So be fast, or you could be furious.
Yeah, and Vin Diesel's actually getting pretty old. Like, I mean, he doesn't. He looks super old. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that he came across as an old man in this movie by any means. But when I actually looked up his age,
plays the same guy, like just grizzled bald guy.
Oh, he's been playing the same role.
About something, and
he's been playing the same role for the last 20 plus years. but he's like, and he's
If
like,
this was a Triple X movie, like sequel, I would have probably bought it. Like, yeah, okay.
I hated the first Triple X. I'd have ran far away. Uh,
No, I mean, like, I would have
no, I got it.
said, okay, sure, this is Triple X3 or whatever, or however many movies they're in.
No, I got it. I was cracking a joke.
Yeah. I don't speak Scottish humor, so I don't know.
Oh yeah, it was a Scottish joke. Everyone was confused by that because it was so Scottish. So no, I looked up his age and he's like in his like early to mid 50s, and he's kind of got that thing in this movie where his wife who's killed is I think just kind of like about our age, right? And then Eiza González, who's not really a love interest, but there's kind of a bit of a flirtation that I thought they might go down that path. She's actually younger than me, so I thought, oh, we're really doing this like, the love interest keep getting younger. Literally in this movie, the love interest kind of gets younger.
I think she's there for the young men in the audience, not really for Vin Diesel. She doesn't really come off as a love interest to me. Just, she's just super hot. So
that's fair.
We can honestly go there, but
I'll be honest, there was a couple of moments in the movie where I thought they were about to go down that path. Like, but there was a moment towards the end, especially, where I thought they were about to kiss.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't have shocked me if they did.
Maybe.
And whatever. But the movie, it thinks it's super cool. It's not. It's trying really hard to be kind of like, I don't know, like everything with the slow motion, the quick cuts, all the fighting that's in the third act. Like, there's actually a moment because there's a big fight that happens in the final act, which is kind of enhanced, and you've got like, not just Vin Diesel, but the bad guys have got enhancements as well. And I swear there's a moment, especially the way it ends, it was like a transition. If you ever played any of the recent Mortal Kombat games, the one that I'm thinking of specifically was Mortal Kombat versus DC from like 10 years ago. But I'm
familiar, but I haven't played it.
But they have these things where in each of the stages, there's actually like 3 different places you can fight. And there's these transition animations where when you punch someone off the side of the screen, it'll go into this thing.
Injustice had that too.
Yeah, same makers, so that makes sense. Right. So basically, this fight, the way it ends, reminded me of the transitions from those games, how they would transition between the 2 scenes, where they'd sort of like punch each other down a big shaft or something
cool,
like that.
In the video game.
In the video game. It was...
But it just makes this movie feel like more of a video game. Yeah, the last act is just, it's a garbage film at that point.
Yes, there's lots of little things along the way that I didn't like. I wasn't super into Vin Diesel in the role, mainly because he's just
so like grumble, 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 grumble. Like, I think I had to turn the bass off on my sound system. It was just too much bass. Speak up.
He's kind of just doing, and there's a couple of moments where he tries to act dramatically, and it does come off a little bit. That delivery didn't quite feel natural, or like, it's one thing to not be great, but it's another thing for a line to make me go, oh, that didn't land, at all. It didn't land. For the most part, he's not that bad, but there's definitely a few lines here or there that kind of come across that way. There's some really bad comic relief in the movie.
All the jokes just are so terrible. Really bad. And our comic relief actor guy is just not good.
There's kind of 2, and one is better than the other, but only because he's not as bad as the first one. We have 2 sort of techie guys.
I'll give you that.
Right? And the first one we meet is so bad. Like, and you know what they're going for here? They're going, like, you can imagine other movies that have got these types of characters and how they're endearing and likable, and the ones that are more vulnerable because of the tech guys. But then in this, because there's a moment with the second tech guy where he's kind of doing the guy in the chair thing. He's like giving orders, or not got orders, but he's like telling people where things are or how to hack into things, and he's doing the his Oracle stuff. And there's a moment where he predicts something happens, and he turns around and goes, high five, and then there's no one there. He goes, oh, I gotta get me some friends, or maybe a therapist. And I'm like, this felt that was such an unnatural joke. Like I don't think the actor's bad. I think it's in the writing more so than the acting. Maybe the directing as well. I
mean, it's gotta be like, is Vin Diesel like good ever in movies? Well, I'm asking you a question, but you can just roll away.
I'm coming back. I'm coming back. You knew I was coming back.
I know he's good in Iron Giant, which I haven't seen, and I know he's good.
Iron Giant's great.
As Groot.
Yes. Yes.
Is that it? Like only when you hear him and not see him?
No, like I say, when he doesn't talk either. Like if he's just visual, he can do one or the other, but he can't do both.
Did he not talk in the Riddick films?
He does, but not much. He's very quiet and he's menacing. So he's better at that because the low gravelly voice works better for sort of the darker character who's intimidating as opposed to all the other characters he's played.
Did he do Walking Tall? Did he do one of those Walking Tall films?
Nah, I think that was Rock, wasn't it?
It might have been The Rock.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was The Rock. So, yeah, and in fact, I mentioned the writing there with Comic Relief. I happened to notice one of the writers' names on this, and I have to bring up this connection to other things. So, one of the writers on this, it was co-written. One of the co-writers was Jeff Wadlow, who is also a director, and obviously written other movies as well. And he directed Kick-Ass 2. He also directed Truth or Dare. He did Fantasy Island that came out this year, which I've not seen yet, but I'm dreading it because we're going to have to do it on streams. But he has made nothing but trash. Like everything he's made that I have seen, I have hated.
Kick-Ass 2 really that bad?
Oh, Kick-Ass 2 is dreadful. I love Kick-Ass 1. Kick-Ass 2 I hate.
Okay.
Did you see Kick-Ass 1?
Parts of it.
Parts, okay. Right, so you don't have much of an opinion then. Kick-Ass 1 is like so surprisingly good because you see the trailer, you see what it looks like, and you're like, oh, this is going to be dumb, and it's got so much heart, and it's really well written, and the direction from Matthew Vaughn's...
I saw one scene where somebody gets crushed in like a garbage...
Sure,
like a garbage site.
The direction's so good.
That was pretty rough.
Because Matthew Vaughn's such a good action director that it's so well made, it's got so much heart, and then Kick-Ass 2 is everything you were worried Kick-Ass 1 was going to be. And it's just bad comedy, all these things. It has... I remember actually being kind of disgusted because there's a really bad rape joke at one point, like halfway through, that I just thought, this makes no sense. Why is the potential victim cracking a one-liner? There was so many things in that movie that I hated. The whole thing was terrible. But no, so he did that, and he did Truth or Dare, and then he just did Fantasy Island. I've not seen the stuff he'd done before Kick-Ass 2. I hope I never do. But it's like he's done nothing but absolute garbage. So he didn't direct this, right?
Well, he co-wrote it, right? So
yeah, he co-wrote it.
We could blame all the terrible things on him. Who's the other guy?
The other guy, hold on, let me see what the credits actually list, because so
I know the director I looked up, and he's done nothing. He did like one episode of TV.
Oh, Dave Wilson. So the co-writer was Eric Heiserer, which it's worth mentioning that Jeff Wadlow got story by as well. So he got story by, and then he co-wrote the screenplay with Eric Heiserer.
Okay.
So he's more responsible.
Eric was like the guy who proofread it.
Yeah, but you know what Eric Heiser has done? I'm going to blow your mind here.
What?
Arrival.
What?
Also Bird Box, which...
Wait, Arrival, like the Charlie Sheen one?
No. Arrival as in Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner and...
Well, maybe the director just makes a difference.
Apparently. He's working on the new Van Helsing movie. I mean, we'll see how that turns out.
I don't know. High hopes. If it's not centered around Guillermo from What We Do in the Shadows, I don't care.
Oh, that'd be so good. Yeah, I didn't like the first Van Helsing movie, so I'm not... I mean, this can only be better in my mind, but I mean, I'm not expecting...
Is it a reboot or a sequel?
Oh, it's a reboot.
Okay.
It's a new thing.
Probably a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah, I hated that one. Because it was the director who did The Mummy, and everyone was like, oh, it's the director who did The Mummy doing Van Helsing. It's going to be this adventure Universal Monsters thing. And I hated every second of it.
Was it Hugh Jackman?
Yeah, Hugh Jackman and Kate Beckinsale with the...
Yeah, it was not. It's not good. Yeah. Weird ripped werewolves.
Was that the one attempt to make Kate Beckinsale into an action? Oh no, I guess Underworld.
Yeah, she had that whole franchise.
Yeah, I guess that's why they probably cast her at. But okay,
you guys should do that on screens.
One day, don't See, is this you being more vicious with suggesting things for Scream because you're having to do bad movies now?
Yes.
So anyway, so script's terrible, and the core idea, which we can't even give the movie credit for that, the core idea comes from the comic book. The comic book came up with the
that's the part
idea.
that I liked.
Yeah. So maybe the comic book's quite good. I don't know. I've not read it, but I've heard good things about the comic. At least the recent years of the comic book. So I don't know. So this was meant to actually be the start of the Valiant shared universe, because in the comics they're all shared, just kind of like DC or Marvel, but it's not as big.
It kind of ends in that note, like, oh, maybe there'll be a sequel.
It ends with sequel bait, but it doesn't end with like a post-credit tease of like another thing though. It doesn't like end with like a tease of Quantum
I don't know.
Remedy.
I turned it off at the credits.
Well, there wasn't. I checked. There wasn't.
Okay.
But it doesn't end with a tease for like Quantum and Moody or Exo Man of War or any other ones. These are the other Valiant things. I know you've not heard of them. I'll be honest, I'm impressed I remember 2 of them. But there's like 5 or 6 I think total. There's not a lot. It's not. I mean, I'm saying it's like DC or Marvel, but it's not as big. It's not like there's hundreds of characters. It's more refined than just these main things. But
cool.
Yeah, so Bloodshot is not very good. I would say it's bad. I'd say it's a bad movie. It's not the worst thing ever, but it's a bad movie. It's exactly the sort of movie that I expect Sony Pictures to make based on a comic book.
Yeah, it's fine. Like there are parts of it that I like, and it's more watchable than some of the bad movies that we've done. Like, but yeah, the third act is pretty hard.
What do you think is better than that we've done? Curious. What springs to mind?
Well,
not counting bonus movies.
Okay. I really didn't enjoy watching Fast Color because that one was just so boring.
But
I think I Am Mother. It's probably better than I Am Mother.
Okay, I would say Fast Color's better than this. It's more boring, but Fast Color is a. I would take the slower Fast Color over this. We want to be cool. We're going to have people smirking in slow motion as they drop like gas grenades and shit.
I don't know. I mean, it's like watching someone play a video game that you're not really into.
What, you mean any Assassin's Creed?
Yeah.
I'm just getting that dig in. Yeah. Suck at Assassin's Creed, you suck.
That's a sci-fi movie. We're gonna have to watch it.
Oh, I've heard nothing but mediocre things. Not even bad things, just really mediocre things.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have no love for the franchise, so I don't. I'll watch it, but.
Yeah, okay. All right. I guess we'll get into spoilers then. I will thank our Patreon producers at this time. I'll thank David Shar, Alison M. Fordyce, Cindy Palacios, and Tyler Hess for being Patreon producers. That means that you're $20 or up on patreon.com/MailFuzzTV. But Tara's going to tell you what you can actually get for $1 because you can support us for as low as $1.
Why, yes. If you like what we do and you want to get more content, more reviews from us of, say, movies that you are... Oh, boy.
Where's this going? I'm excited.
Movies that you hear us talk about when you're wondering, where are they? Where is this transfer saga? Who is Jack Death? Check out our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MilesBuzzTV, and $1 will get you access to all those films. And if you're wondering where Time Cop is, and Judge Dredd.
So I was about to say, because you hadn't mentioned them yet, if you can name me a bonus movie that we've done that's not Time Cop or Judge Dredd, I'll let you pick. Like,
Future Force.
No, I'm not doing it now because you're about to say them. But I was going to give you a little test.
I'm giving them the money ones, okay? There's a whole catalog of films that we've done. So, yeah, check it out.
Yes, but of course, you also get stuff at $5 tier.
Yeah, you get to vote on what we review once a month, and you'll get these episodes a day early. So,
yeah,
you'll be ahead of the game.
Yeah.
and be our favorites.
I wonder how many episodes it's going to take before Tara does the $5 stuff without prompting.
Never.
Okay, all right. Full spoilers then for
That
Bloodshot.
was so smooth.
Oh, it was the smoothest attempt you've ever had. It was buttery smooth. All right. So full spoilers for Bloodshot then from here on out. So the weird thing is as I was watching the start of the movie, I kind of wanted to complain at just how generic, bland, and like just the opening like 20 minutes are. But then when it does the twist later, it's like, okay, it's kind of supposed to be like a generic bland origin because it's a fake origin. It's not real.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of get away with it, but at the same time, it was kind of just dumb or not.
And they acknowledge it, like they say, like this is all movie trope, whatever.
But it wasn't enjoyable to watch. Those the problem. I wasn't watching that first 20 minutes going, oh hey, look at these things, or like I was just kind of bored.
Okay. So the movie trailer is like we get a montage of that opening scene, and then once it's over, it like rewinds and we get the same montage but with the different faces in it.
So it spoils it.
So
completely.
that is the movie trailer, and then it's like, oh my god, it's all a lie. My life is a lie. And then we're like, okay, interesting premise. Like I could see where this could be kind of cool. The reveal happens literally an hour into the movie.
What's so dumb about that, especially, is as I was watching it, I thought, you know what, Toby Kebbell's smart casting here because it's kind of almost the Drew Barrymore. You always scream Drew Barrymore was kind of the surprise early kill because it's like, oh, you got Drew Barrymore, she's obviously one of the leads. I think casting Toby Kebbell makes it feel like he is going to be the real villain, or at least one of the main villains. So having him kind of be the fake out villain who is like dealt with halfway through is only the first, or not the first, because we find out this is like the third or fourth time he's done this. But
is it though, like, because Toby Kebbell, like he's a name to me because I love everything about the Planet of the Apes movies, but is he like a big name for people?
Well, he's not a big name, but he's known enough that I buy him as the villain in a Bloodshot movie.
Okay.
You know, I mean, the fact that Guy Pearce is basically doing the same twist as Iron Man 3 in this, we'll not spend too much time on that, but he's basically doing the same thing. He just has a robotic arm this time.
Everyone's a little bit typecast. Huh?
Yep. Eiza González is there to do like Tai Chi underwater. Well, that's her benefit.
Be hot.
That's what I forgot. Her benefit is she can breathe underwater. That's the one thing she has, which for the record never really comes into play.
Nope.
Oh, actually, she drops a lot of gas grenades at the end. I guess that's how it comes into play, is she can breathe through the gas. She doesn't need to care about it.
Oh, yeah, and her smoking doesn't actually kill her.
Oh, yeah, because
she's smoking.
It's not real.
But it's like
it's poison, yeah.
Trick cigarette, yeah.
Yes. Yes, okay, so she has a benefit. Okay, we remembered what the benefit was. That does kind of come into play. But they really spend a lot of time setting up the war, because as I was just kind of joking there, there's like a scene where she's in like underwater doing like Tai Chi or whatever, and it's this like tranquil scene where Vin Diesel's watching her in slow motion underwater, doing all these movements, obviously, and it's like, okay, we get it, yes, the hot actress is, doing poses underwater.
In a hot swimsuit.
Yeah, so... Yes, I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like a movie that I think overexploits her. It's not like super sleazy with how it shoots her for the most part. I don't think nothing stuck out to me in the way that a lot of other movies do. But you did get the feeling that, okay, we have someone who's we cast her because she's this hot. That's why she's here. So yeah, the opening is just, he saves a hostage in a soldier situation. He comes back. I thought, and again, you kind of get away with this because it's meant to be fake movie tropes. But I was thinking during the scene the ridiculous glow as he's coming back to his wife who's waiting at the car, and it's like the magic of her sunset, and they're hugging and cameras spinning. We don't get a clear look at her face, and she's
got like a perfect hair and dress and.
Just so over the top, because there's a lot of speech, because Vin Diesel turns around to his men before he goes over to her, says, this is what we fight for, boys, this is why we do what we do, And I don't know what he yells at the end, but I'll quote another movie instead. It was something like "Never give up, never surrender," and he.
I was thinking more like every meal is a banquet, every paycheck.
Oh yeah,
A fortune.
yes. I can't be mad at Apone quotes from Aliens. Can't be mad.
Oh.
So he goes. Yeah, they spend the night together basically. Yeah, there's like a sort of like romantic-esque scene, and her looking at his scars and being like, "I don't like these scars." Like, why not? It's like, "Oh, I don't like the stories they tell. You bring all this back with you, but it'll always come back." Yes.
Grumble.
More sex. Let's have more sex, wife. Yes. Honestly, and it wasn't even funny or a good impression, but the only joke that kind of worked for me is later on the second tech guy who kind of works with him does an impression when he leaves at one point, and I thought, you know what, it's not a good impression. What you're saying is not that funny, but his low gravelly voice has been such a like an amusing or such a stupid thing all movie that I appreciate that someone's making fun of him for it. I respect it in principle, if nothing else. So he, but she leaves to get breakfast in the morning. He wakes up and he hears bad guys coming for him. They knock him out. He puts up a good fight. Don't get me wrong, because he bashes them out of the bathroom wall, and he's like snapping. He actually like, snaps one guy's with his elbow. He's got like his elbow up to the back of his neck. He just kind of goes like that and snaps it. And the other guy's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah. It wasn't horrible choreography. I just wish we could have seen it better because they just kept editing around it so much.
It was the cinematography and the editing, that let it down.
Yeah.
I kind of feel that way about a lot of the fighting in this. Is that I feel like
it looks like the choreography is really good, and like I would have liked to have seen it if they just had one shot.
Yeah.
You know, instead of cut.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's just because Vin Diesel can't do it, or that it would be too obvious with the body doubles coming in. But it's the sort of thing where I would have loved like just like one bird's eye shot of the whole thing.
Yeah,
like would have been really impressive
cool.
looking. But you know, it's what it is. But he gets captured, and they bring in the wife. He's tied to a chair. And it's like, tell us how you found the bad guy. Blah 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 blah. He's like, I won't tell you. I don't know. They don't tell me those things. I'm just the guy who goes in and does the orders. I don't know these things. And Toby Kebbell
Toby Kebbell comes in with his super out light jacket into a freezer, and he's dancing.
That's right. I hated this. I mean, again, they're doing the movie tropes, and it kind of they get away with it to a point because they reveal later that it's not real. He needs to have
a trigger song.
Yes, but yeah, he comes in dancing in like a pimp coat, and he's like all animated, and it's like you're doing like a really bad impression of like entertaining villains from other movies. This feels pathetic.
Right.
But and again, I know technically, because people are going to say this in the comments, I know that they get away with it because it's not meant to be real, but there's other movies that do this better. Like, I think of like Cabin in the Woods or something like that, where they'll do the tropes and they'll play with them, and then when you find out what's going on, it kind of adds layers to it, and it like, but it doesn't feel, it's not annoying to watch in the first place. Like, it still works to some extent first.
Yeah, I mean, I was laughing, but I was just seeing where it was going, and again, I already knew the twist. So, thanks to the trailer.
I like how you said that. You were missing just pulling your hair. Just that I was laughing. I was seeing where it was going.
Yeah. See where this goes.
Yeah. So of course, Kebbell shoots his wife, and then comes over and shoots him. And Vin Diesel wakes up on a operating table. It's kind of like a RoboCop waking up thing where he hears voices a little bit, kind of on and off as he's waking up, and he has no memory.
It's his Nike heart.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I hate this part. So I hate, and I know there's a trigger song. I know all this, but this was so frustrating to me. Is that he wakes up and he's got amnesia. He doesn't know who he is. He doesn't remember that he's got a wife or anything. The only thing they tell him is that he wasn't claimed, and that's why he was submitted by the army for this procedure, this experiment. And so we have like maybe like a 5-minute section of the movie where he gets told who everyone else is. He sees, the pool bit, and then he has a drink with her, and then he has the trigger moment where he remembers everything. And see, when he's triggered, I went, wait, he remembers everything already? Like, why give him amnesia? Like, what the hell? Like, what? Like I thought this was going to be a big part of the movie. Is that he's like slowly remembering like that he had a wife and that there was some bad
Maybe
guy.
it's because he's so like powerful and strong. They don't want him to wake up with like hot-blooded and full of revenge right away.
I guess I just they had him remember, and I was like, already?
What I
Why?
didn't really care for was like when he first wakes up and he's like walking around with Guy Pearce, and he even starts like joking at one point. I'm like, dude, aren't you like freaking out right now?
Yeah,
You have no memory.
I mean, not only are you freaking out,
Why
you
are you
just
so casual?
not only have you no memory, but you just get told you died and were brought back to life. I feel like you're being far too calm for the sequence of events that you've been told just happened.
I mean, maybe Vin Diesel's not a good actor, or maybe it's just that he works with like the dumbest directors. I don't know.
Because I
Who don't
feel
give him anything.
I feel like I can almost see like a scene in another movie where someone's just gotten superpowers and they're freaking out because they have powers and they accidentally like punch a pillar without realizing their strength or something like that. And that's like a good point. He does have the punching the pillar scene where he starts boxing the pillar to see how strong he is, and that goes on for a bit. What's your favorite?
Yeah, and he's like super happy about it, and I'm just like, all right, please don't bring down the building.
Yes.
Do you think they have to replace this pillar every single time that they wake him up?
Or maybe they intentionally put this.
Maybe that guy is so mad at him because the guy with the legs has to be the one who like rebuilds the pillar.
Yeah, the guy with the legs does really not like him. But maybe this pillar is a non-supporting pillar. Maybe this pillar is just there to be punched. So it's not. So the building's in no risk. They've thought about this.
Look, we know he's going to punch a pillar, so let's put a decoy pillar up.
Yeah, it's always that pillar.
It's just decorative.
But he triggers and immediately remembers who Toby Kebbell is, and he rushes off, steals a car. And he's like, "No, I got to go find the guy who killed my wife." And he goes off, and this is where he's nanics access the internet, and he pings like individual car systems and figures out where the car is that has Toby Kebbell in it, and like. It sort of plays as if everyone back at base is kind of losing their minds because he ran off and Guy Pearce is worried or whatever, but they're not really obvious. This is the plan. They want him to do this. Because the whole idea, of course, is that they basically keep telling them that his enemies, that Guy Pearce's enemies, were the ones who murdered his wife. They keep replaying, like every time he comes back, they reset him and give him the memory again, but with a different face, a different person. So that he'll want revenge and go after that person.
Right, as everybody knows from the trailer.
If you remember the trailer, which I thought was forgettable, just put it out there. I don't feel like I'm personally being shunned for not remembering this.
It's not a personal attack. I'm attacking the movie.
I mean, not only do I not remember the trailer, Connor told me all this a month ago, and I didn't remember that either.
Yeah, but like you said, you don't really listen to him.
That's true. Yes. Any other host, I remember what they told me in like any episode ever. That's a lie. Don't test me, people. There's too many episodes. I've done like 400 plus episodes with Tim. You think I can remember what Tim said to me in episode 92?
What Tim says is random from what I hear anyway. So.
Yeah, sometimes I'll say, here, welcome to the show. Yeah, I'm joined by Tim, and Tim will just say, like, the episode that went out yesterday on Underwater, he just started with, "We're going to need a bigger boat." I guess it was kind of relevant. It was in the water.
Yeah. Is there a shark in the movie?
No, it's more Lovecraftian monsters.
Is there a boat?
Nah, submersibles, but no boats.
Yeah, okay.
Unless an escape pod that rises to the surface counts as a boat. If that counts as a boat, then there's a boat.
Now I know they escape.
So they're trying to get to the escape pods. That doesn't mean they actually succeed.
I'm not going to watch it.
You know, I watched the Kristen Stewart underwater monster movie. Also starring T.J. Miller.
I'll check out the review and see if I should watch it. How about that?
Sure. Yeah, do that. Yes. Watch Rooms After Midnight. I recommend that. Anyway, so he corners him in this tunnel. He drives like a truck into like, the front car in the corner because the guy's got like 5 cars. It's like a convoy going around London, or no, it wasn't London. It was like London's later. It was like Hungary, I think. And he blocks him off in this tunnel with the truck, and we get the most ridiculous amount of red lighting. because of the fire, I guess. Even though, but it's like pure
because
red.
the truck, the truck was filled with flour that it was transporting, and then they used flares which light up red. So all the lights are out, and they just have the light from the flares, and the flares are bouncing off the flour that's everywhere.
And I guess
it's kind of like snow.
This was for the trailer. This was like him walking through the red smoke was for the trailer. Because when I think of a
lot of
red flare scene in a movie, I think of that drop scene in Godzilla, right? I think of the all the people dropping it at San Francisco, with just the red
great
flares.
Flare scene, you're right.
Great flare scene. This, I just feel it's so bathed in red, and you've got his chest glowing red, and he basically just demolishes every single bit of security this guy has.
All the nanites are red.
The nanites are like, because he gets like hit with a shotgun at one point, and the nanites sort of like in slow motion go back the way, like a shotgun blast, and then they kind of like go and then reform back to his face in slow motion again. There's so much slow motion in this scene.
Do you think Vin Diesel's upset that the nanites didn't give him hair?
I don't think Vin Diesel's been a bald man for over 25 years. I think he's just used to it at this point. I don't think he's not. I don't think he's sore about it.
Yeah, just check it out, see what it looks like.
Nah.
Having hair does not make you cooler, by the way.
Okay.
Not you specifically. You as in the audience.
Nice for that. I feel like that was a disclaimer just in case Tara was worried she was insulting any bald men out there. Just in case.
I would never.
Yes. What was it? Yeah, I mean, is there anything you want to point out in this scene, this big action sequence? Because it goes on for a little while, but I don't really have anything specific that I want to say.
I did think some of it looked pretty good. It's just, yeah, it does come off as a bit try-hard, but I like Toby Kebbell. I like that when you see him, he has a different personality than what we've seen him in the first scene.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of triggers, what's going on here? But, yeah, I think it's one of the better scenes in the movie. Again, I don't like that we don't get to see a lot of the fighting because the choreography looks like it's kind of cool, but it's just so, I don't know, it's just going through too many different shots so that you can get every perspective of a single punch.
Yeah, it's too over the top with how it shoots everything. I mean, Toby Kebbell, yells and says, they're lying to you, blah. I will say, even though I forgot all the stuff that Cora told me and I forgot the trailer, the second I saw Guy Pearce, I went, he's the villain.
He's always the villain.
There'll be a jump cut there because I had to edit out something, which I will not repeat, because people will be upset. They'll be riots in the streets because Tara spoiled a movie that was not...
We're in the spoiler section.
For Bloodshot, not for every movie ever made. You know what I'm saying? I had to censor myself because I wanted to drop an F-bomb and I can't. So I had to rewind a little bit. Just a troublemaker. This is
So yeah, Guy Pearce is a villain just like all his movies.
That's not true.
Spoiler.
That's not true. I'm sure Guy Pearce has been a good guy in some movies. This happened.
He's so he has such severe features that I think he just gets typecast.
I always forget that he's because he's like Australian, right?
I have no idea.
I think he is.
He's an actor, so
I'm sure he's Australian. I don't know. Someone will tell me I'm wrong. Probably. Maybe he's from New Zealand. But I mean, same difference. I just upset.
Sure, they don't agree with you. New Zealand doesn't is like Australia, but it's missing all the things that can kill you.
That sounds perfect.
Yes.
That's perfect. Also, apparently, they are like one of the best countries on the planet right now for how they've dealt with everything, virus-wise. They've had their number of deaths is like minuscule compared to everywhere else. I
bet Antarctica has something to say about that.
Oh yeah, if there's no population. Oh, surprised that Antarctica won. We can't have no deaths if there's no people here.
I wonder if Antarctica needs a leader.
Why? You put your name in the hat?
Be kind of cool.
actually just watched Arctic with Mads Mikkelsen yesterday, where he's trapped.
Good?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's a good survival movie. But so it looks pretty cold though. I don't know if you'd like to be there. Well,
yeah. I'm a Canuck. Handle it.
Yeah. The only thing to eat is fish that you can, catch. There's like no other natural food.
Well, for survival.
For survival.
Okay.
Unless you feel like taking on a polar bear. I mean.
Oh no. Well, no, that's in the Arctic. I'm talking Antarctica.
True. Oh yeah, but I shifted to Arctic because I was talking about the movie.
Oh,
which was in the Arctic. No. But yes, you're right. Polar bears are not.
And I will not eat a penguin.
That's a really funny sentence because there's a really sort of popular biscuit here. Sorry, a cookie called a penguin. That's like a popular thing here. So you just saying I will not eat a penguin just sounded really funny to me. Like, I will not do it. I will not eat that chocolatey biscuit. I will not do it. I object.
Anyway, Bloodshot is not a great movie.
You try to sum up, we're just skipping the last half of the movie. Because he comes back. So
here's my rating.
He comes back, and the others are kind of waiting for him. And when he's strapped to the table, then the guy doesn't like him, leg man, we'll call him. He comes up and basically just starts taunting him and be like, "Oh, by the way, haven't you realized that we've made you do this before? You didn't kill your wife. In fact, you believe that she's dead."
Mm-hmm.
You buy it every time, and he has like
He's so evil.
He has these flashes where he sees like the multiple versions like happening sort of back to back, and it's like it's kind of he realizes what's going on. But then they reset him, and he wakes up thinking that because there's like one more because who Guy Pearce is killing is everyone who helped him develop the technology. So he's the only one who knows how to do it. So he's the only one who can sell it to people. So he's proper just evil. He's just straight up evil. And Eiza González doesn't like helping him. But he can literally turn off her breathing apparatus, so she'll just die. So
yeah,
she tries to talk him out of like the sort of letting Vin Diesel go, but he's not having it. But so she ends up like sabotaging later. Eventually, after like she tries to talk him out of it again, and he kind of like flips the switch, and she's like dying or whatever. But he gets set in this mission to kill the last person who knows it, like how stuff works. But this guy's kind of prepared. This guy that he goes after next has got like an EMP device. He's kind of ready for the nanites. He's like, okay, he's going to send them. He's going to send his gun after me, so I'm going to do this. And this is where we meet the second tech guy, who the main tech guy who works for Guy Pearce like admires and like even based some of his coding after his coding, which is important for later because they can hack into it again easily. Because it's my coding. He used my coding. I can just code away and get in there.
You're just as funny as he is.
How dare you? You basically just said that I have negative comic powers.
Well, I thought you were doing an impression of him.
No, well,
I'm trying to say you nailed it.
Oh, okay, all right. I thought you were trying to say I was equally unfunny, but I wasn't.
Well,
really
yeah, but that was the intention.
I wasn't really trying to be funny though. I guess so. I suppose I'll take it as a compliment.
Yes. Move on.
Yes. Wait, how did it? Eric, so my IMDb page for Eric Heiser, the co-writer, is still up, and I'm just looking at what else he did before this or before Arrival, and literally, like he did the Thing prequel. He did Federation 5, which I don't hate, but it's not a good movie. He did an Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Like it's like all this shit and then Arrival just in there in the middle.
Okay, Arrival must have like 15 writers.
Yeah, you can't be the only writer, huh? I'm going to click on Arrival. We have to get to the bottom of this right now. Right now. It's based on a story. So all he did was take the story and put it into a script form. I mean, that's maybe underselling how adaptations work, but still. He had concrete story to base. I mean, I suppose technically so did this to a point, but
well, yeah. I mean, maybe the director makes a difference.
I think it does. I think
Denis Villeneuve is pretty great.
Yeah, Denis came in and said, "Oh, this script's a little bit on the messy side. I'll touch this up. I can work
with this.
I'll touch it up, and I'll get Amy Adams and Jeremy Renner and Forrest Whitaker to come in and act.
Oh yeah, you know, people who are good at that. I forgot what that looks like after this movie.
Yeah. So Vin Diesel actually storms through the building, still kills the bad guy, but the techie uses the EMP, and then he's got like a dark zone around the house so that no one can detect him. So the command center are like, oh, we can't sense him anymore. What's going on? What's happening? And he wakes him up and explains what's going on and gives him a rough idea. Doesn't know all the details of what they've put in his head, but can sort of give him enough to fill in the blanks, and then Vin Diesel kind of puts the rest of it together. So this is he kind of becomes his guy that's going to be in the chair doing tech stuff for him, and gives him a car, gives him like a secure like uplink to a satellite so he can access the internet, but not the internet that is the bad guys have access to. So basically from here he goes to see his wife, finds out that she's actually been married to someone else with kids for years, and is heartbroken by this, of course. He Batmans out the scene.
I thought that was a decent scene, though, between the two of them. Like, it was one of the scenes I liked. It wasn't like super tropey, or, you know, like her situation and her reaction to him seemed like oh, I'm happy you're around, and it added more layers to things. Like, were they even a thing? Oh, they were, but you know, it ended amicably or something. Like, I don't know. It seemed like a real relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'd say quite amicably. It sounds like she very much did the dumping because she didn't like him, because he kept choosing the soldier life. From the sounds of it.
Yeah, but she was also happy to see him, and she wasn't surprised that he was alive still. So that kind of added more intrigue to it.
Yeah, I did appreciate that he kind of quickly figured out like how long has it been since we saw each other, because I was almost starting to be annoyed that he was being really dumb and not getting it, that like.
Yeah,
this was some time ago since you saw him or whatever, and there's like stuff has happened since that he's obviously not remembering.
Right. Yeah.
But,
in fact, she's got 2 kids, and like, okay, well, there's no going back to that.
yeah. That part of your life is just over, and it was already over. But the bad guy was just manipulating your past feelings to motivate you to go and do this thing. And this is the sad thing, is that I think this core premise of the bad guy like manipulating the action hero, because how many action movie plots are like, oh, the openings like the wife or the daughter or someone gets killed, and then okay, they're on a rampage for the movie to get to the bad guy to kill them. The idea that someone's basically using that and just programming in the villain each time to match whoever they want to be killed is a really good idea.
Yeah, it almost has like a Black Mirror-esque thing about it. Like I know there's an episode that you didn't care for, but I liked it. Is the ones where you can change what the enemy looks like to make them not look like people anymore.
Men Against Fire, yeah. And I think what hurt the episode for me is that it came right after San Junipero, which is the best episode of the show. So, so that hurt.
Unless you like Shut Up and Dance.
Well, I love Shut Up and Dance. Shut Up and Dance is the second. Like, I cannot tell you the experience of watching Shut Up and Dance and going, that is the best episode of this show, and then watching San Junipero and going, no, this is the best episode of this show. That was such a good pair back to back. Such a good pair. But anyway. Yeah.
Well, anyway, I do like that episode, and I like the concepts in it, and the trailer for this movie made me think, oh, I wonder, it's kind of like that, like they've taken a soldier and they're just giving an image or implying an image, like this is what your enemy is, even though it's not.
I'm annoyed. We mentioned Amy Adams earlier with Arrival. She was on Buffy. I could have used that as my weighty reference. She was on the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, hence why she can act. Hence why she did a good job in Arrival compared to Vin Diesel in this movie. See, that was clunky because I didn't think of it at the time.
Who is she in Buffy?
She's Tara's cousin. Not your cousin. Just the character of Tara. Or sister. She's in Tara's family. When Tara's family shows up in season 5, and they're kind of possessive and want to like take her home against her will.
Okay. I never watched season 5.
I know. So basically, the bad guys basically show up, and they're all like special weapons that'll take him down, and they do. So they capture him again, and from here, Eiza González's character, she's supposed to go kill the techie that was helping him, but she instead like turns on the guys that are with her and like installs him somewhere to help her break him out, and she puts herself inside the simulation when he's getting these new memories again for the next kill, whoever it may be. And basically,
Isn't it the tech guy?
what tech guy?
The second tech guy? Isn't it him that they make a target? No, I thought he was good. I thought he was the next target.
Because she was supposed to kill him. She was supposed to get to him and kill him already. That's when she sort of flipped and turned on the other guys.
I just don't remember.
Yeah. I don't think we ever saw who the new target was supposed to be. We never got that far in it. Because González showed up during the hostage bit and like started, and he remembered who she was, and then from there basically they wake up out of the simulation, and she goes around the building destroying computers in slow motion while she drops like red gas canisters, like she dual wheels red gas canisters and like the slow motion drops them, and then like smirks as she walks out of this server room in slow motion. And again, try hard, like super. We want to be cool, songs playing, ridiculous. But the actual big sci-fi conflict is that the guy doesn't like him, plus the other guy who's just kind of been around with the vision. They take on Vin Diesel, and the guy with the legs has got like metal arms that he like attaches to his back. It's like it's 2 extra arms that are sort of longer than his. So he's got like I won't quite call it an exosuit because it's only just the arms really from his spine, but it's kind of that idea.
Sure.
And like this fight could be really cool. Like I see potential even in this. Like this guy with this extra like mech add-on arms, like a proper cyberpunk style fight. And they end up fighting an elevator shaft, and there's a lot of like jumping up and like falling from one elevator because it's one of those outdoor elevators where, well, that's not quite outdoor, but the glass like surrounding on the edge of the building.
Yeah.
So you can see like the outside, and they're falling up and down this shaft and leaping, and the guy with the claws is like using them to like climb up and down really quickly, and it gets very Spider-Man-y. Like he's like he's Doc Ock.
I was thinking the end of Spider-Man video game.
Oh, I can see that. Yeah.
That final battle where they're fighting on like the side of the.
And
did I spoil something again?
I don't know. I think that's right. But like that was relatively vague. There was a fight at the end of Spider-Man. Like this fight, right? But
so good.
The moment I was talking about earlier, though, when I was saying it really reminded me of the transitions in the Mortal Kombat games between the stages, is right at the very end where after a lot of like punching and clawing and like whatever, Vin Diesel wins the fight by ripping off the arms, and then he does this thing as they're falling through the air down this giant elevator shaft. He punches him down, and the guy like just flies down into like past the dirt, so we can't see him. It's a cloud of debris and dirt or whatever. He just goes into that, and we don't see him. But the way he sort of punches as he's falling down, it looked like those scenes from those Mortal Kombat games of the transitions. Yeah. And even Spider-Man, I can see like some Spider-Man here as well potentially, but it felt like that type of moment. And I was like, man, that was so video gamey. And obviously, there's a lot of this where they are CG. Like the actors are CG because they're doing these ridiculous things that couldn't be anything else.
And it does that thing where it's like a real slow motion shot. It like speeds up real fast, and then they zoom in on the actual punch, and it's slow motion. You're like, okay.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah, it's fine. It does feel like just a boss fight.
It feels like a video game adaptation movie from like 2000 to 2005, but with the effects and budget of a 2020 movie.
Yeah, the effects for the most part are pretty good. I think the director was a visual effects guy, which maybe is why this movie's so heavy in that.
That's always a good idea. Get the visual effects guy, or having watched some bad action movies on stream recently with people from like the early 90s. Like you can tell that the director and like most of the actors are all stunt people who are like just doing an action movie because they can, and the acting is oofed. Like oofed.
You've been watching the Rothrock films?
I watched the Rothrock movie last night.
Yeah, it
was something else. But actually, speaking of video game movies, it had the actor who played Liu Kang from Mortal Kombat in it.
I think I kind of like Mortal Kombat, but I don't know. It's been a long time.
It's definitely the most enjoyable video game movie that I've seen, and part of that might just be nostalgia because I saw it. Because even the second one I can watch with a smile on my face, and it's terrible.
Oof.
The second one's terrible.
Annihilation.
Yeah.
That animation.
Oh my god. There's a line delivery. Not Sonya. What's the other woman from the two movies? The one that Liu Kang kind of fights, but she's kind of sexy, and Liu Kang's got the hots for her. She's like the daughter of the Emperor or something like that. But anyway, her mum. In the second movie, she has this line delivery from the start that's like one of those iconic bad acting moments where it's like, and you will die. And it's just really like over the top moment. Oh, it's so great and bad. It's wonderful. So, and James Remar's in the second one. He replaced what's his face, Christopher Lambert from Highlander, which honestly may be an upgrade. I like him more, but whatever. Anywho, so
Conversation for another time.
like, I mean, it's kind of sci-fi, I guess. It's tangential.
Okay.
Tangential.
Yeah, maybe.
Anyway, basically, Guy Pearce has got this fancy grenade launcher that he's blasting at Vin Diesel, which is literally making Vin Diesel's nanites explode and then come back together in slow motion as he just walks through it like it's nothing. Honestly, I don't like nanites in the movies, and it's not the concept of nanites that I don't like. It's that visually, all they end up being is like a CG mess of pixels, and there's no like. One of the things I really dislike about the last couple of Avengers movies, which I'd otherwise quite like, is that Iron Man suits, because they're nanites, are like just this CG magic happening, as opposed to, whereas the previous movies, there was something really satisfying about all the mechanical parts clicking into place, and it
Sure.
and it swapped.
That's always the case. Like even when we watch the new Star Treks and stuff, which of course I love, but I miss like buttons that you can press, the clicky sounds. I miss the tactile experience of being in something and the switches all get hit and then the buttons get pressed and then you go into space or whatever. But like I love that old science fiction look. Now everything is clean, everything's a projected image.
Mm-hmm.
There's no buttons. You just do this in the air.
To be fair to it, I think Next Generation actually was mostly touchscreen stuff, which is actually quite forward thinking at the time.
Yeah, I agree. And I still prefer the look of the original series, though, to that, because I think that one still looks kind of dated. Or even like Star Wars. I think that's why Star Wars designs are so satisfying, is because you get the satisfaction of, the switches and the thing you got to pull down in order to go forward. Yeah,
actually, that's why one of the things that I always remember about Firefly is that Alan Tudyk, who played Wash the pilot, is that okay? So he's given this set and he's the pilot, but no one told him like this is how you fly the ship. Obviously, there's like a joystick to use for movement, but like all these buttons, like what is he doing? So he basically just had to make up like a little routine for himself, so he'd always do the same thing, like when he was taking off or landing, so that it'll look consistent. He always flipped the same 3 switches. So every time I'm watching that show now and I notice that little bit, there's the 3 switches that he said he learned how to. He just made up, but he had to be consistent. So he decided what he pressed to land in whatever the ship. So I it's one of those little details. Can I that was I wasn't just trying to show on a reference, so that was a genuinely related thing to what we're talking about tactile buttons and ships and stuff. Can I bring up
Alan Tudyk is a fine actor for getting some being so detailed.
Alan Tudyk is a gem, all right, and not just because of Firefly. He was great in Doom Patrol, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, even his role in Dodgeball, super memorable. Okay, he's a wonder, right?
Yeah, I like his the stuff he does for Disney now.
I don't like that much as much, but anyway, stupid Star Wars. So
and animated.
And animated, yeah. He does a lot of voice work. He does, and he's good at it. Sometimes I don't even notice it's him. I think he's like the villain in Wreck-It Ralph or something like that, and I didn't even realize it was him the whole time.
He's the chicken in Moana.
I haven't seen Moana, but sure.
It's so good. I watched it like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah. So, but there's there's technically a risk here that he's going to like overload his nanites. Like tech guys like, he's going to overload his nanites, and Eiza González is trying to run out to get to him. But then they wake him up just fine anyway. Like, because he basically, one of the grenades that Pearce fires at him, he just catches and walks up to him and drops it and lets them both explode. But he wakes up in like they've got on the outside it's like a regular trailer, like a caravan, to use the British term, and then but the inside it's like a sci-fi like lab. They've got like a med bay bed for him, and he gets up. And this is the moment where I thought him and González were going to kiss, because they're watching the sunset like out in the cliff. And there was definitely a moment where I'm like, And they're just going to kick, and it's not that it was justified. This is the I was going to complain about it if they did. So fair play, they didn't. But it really felt like they were going to for a second, and I was ready to be annoyed. I was like, are they going to?
I think you maybe got there because she was very like emotional about the scene because she's seeing a sunset. Because before she established that she couldn't leave that building or she would die or something, right? So I think just being free of Guy Pearce's evil is why they're both having a moment.
So they go to the Jeep that's at the front of the trailer, and they are driving off into the sunset, which is obviously a sequel bit because now he's got a team. He's got his tech guy, he's got her as sort of the main backup. But possibly one of the worst jokes in the entire movie. Maybe the second worst. I'll go back to what the worst one probably is. But the second worst joke in the entire movie is the very ending, because as they're driving off into the sunset, you can hear the tech guy talking. He's like, oh, really? We're going to be this cliche, driving off out of the sunset? I mean, hey, this is kind of a movie thing. What if this whole thing's been a simulation and it cuts them like mid-sentence to credits? And I'm like, you know what, movie? This isn't Total Recall. You don't get to like try and play that card where maybe this was all a simulation or whatever. No. You've not set up for this. Or
so Vin Diesel has been in Recall this whole time.
You don't get to do that. The worst joke, however, is the first tech guy who randomly so Eiza González like makes a penis joke at him about size, and then there's a couple of scenes later he comes up to
a bad joke.
Also a bad joke, yeah. But he comes up to Guy Pearce. They're just setting up for the next thing they're doing. They're waiting for Vin Diesel to get to the bad guy, or not the bad guy, but the target. And he comes up to Guy Pearce like, "Hey, could I get some of the augmentation technology put in my body?" And Kebbell's like, well, why would you want it? Like, is there a specific like part you think you need augmented? And he's like, you know what? Never mind. And he gets embarrassed and walks away. And I'm like, oh,
he says it because one of the female workers comes in.
Yes, that's right.
Into the room and sits down, and he's like, oh, yeah, never mind.
I mean, the only thing I appreciate,
so awkward and nerdy.
Yeah, like because there's good versions of the awkward nerdy character. This movie does not have them. They do not work. Because the tech guy number 2's like main running thing is that he likes to eat a lot, so he's always like eating and stuff.
But he's just so trying to be funny.
He is. He's trying really hard. I
tells the guy to not look at his butt when he walks up the stairs. Like, that's not.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just didn't seem natural.
The only redeeming factor of the first tech guy, I think, and this is very small, very slight, is that all of the other people who work in the control room with him, who have no character names, who we never really get to meet, there's at least a few moments in the movie where after he cracks one of his really dumb lines, they just look annoyed at him, like, oh my god, this guy again. Like, they're reacting appropriately.
The extras know what kind of character he is.
Like, oh my god. I almost wonder, was that even in the script for them to like roll their eyes like that, or was it just captured like, you know, candid, like between takes, because they were just so annoyed at how bad the character was, and they're like, no.
Like, am I really in this movie?
which actually literally happened kind of on Avengers. Do you know that joke on the helicarrier where the guy turns around and he's playing Galaga?
Mm-hmm.
They actually put that in digitally after the fact, because it was just like a random shot of him turning around just to pay off the line that Robbie Downey Jr. ad-libbed earlier in the scene. They digitally just put it on the screen, and that's really funny. That's a really inventive little like visual effect ad-lib, we'll call that. Very cool. Yeah. This is not as cool, but I mean, I like the idea that this was just a natural eye roll that they just put in afterwards. Like,
I think I'm done talking about this movie.
I mean, we're done. There's no more plot left. It's just Tara's like, I demand we end this episode right now.
Well, I mean, you've brought up a story about Alan Tudyk. You brought up a story about the Avengers. Amy Adams. I think we're at the end.
All right then. We will rate the film. We'll rate it out of 10. Tara, why don't you give your score so I can give it something lower?
Okay. It's not a good movie. There were parts that I didn't hate watching. Like, I think there's a lot of potential here. I think the science fiction parts of it are pretty cool. When it's not like super video game, and I'm just gonna repeat myself. So, we do watch bad movies. I don't think this is horrible. I'll give it a 5. I think it's sort of watchable, and there are probably people out there who really like it.
Yeah, I think 5 out of 10 is Sony's, like, if they get a 5, they're happy with their movie. Like that's they're aiming for a 5 out of 10.
The sequel.
Oh dear. Yeah. So I'll try and do a sort of mimicky Vin Diesel voice here as I give it the 4 out of 10. I can't do Vin Diesel.
You have to pretend that you've just swallowed a bunch of rocks, and they're all like gurgling around in there.
I feel like if I try and do that, I'm just going to ruin my vocal cords. I don't know how this man still has a voice, to be honest.
I don't know how to do it without going into Sly Stallone. It's a 4. It's a 4 or 5.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4. 4 out of 10, not 4 out of 5. How dare you? 4 out of 10. It's not the worst thing ever, right? It's like mediocre. Annoyingly how cool it's trying to be. It whiffs on ideas. It's not the worst thing ever though, but it's got that annoying Sony feel to it, and it's just they have this thing where so many of their movies just feel that way. I didn't see the newest Men in Black. I'm sure we'll do it at some point. We did the first Men in Black, but I'm sure we'll do all the sequels at some point. But you know, Sony have this thing. Anyway, I feel like a Sony movie, all right? There's a feel to their movies. Like Life as an example, or like there's exceptions. They did technically distribute Moon, which is like a masterpiece. But
did they do the new Spider-Man also?
Technically, but
no, I mean the animated one.
Spider-Verse. Okay, yeah, no, you're right. The exception currently is Spider-Verse, and technically the other ones because Marvel, even though Marvel are kind of doing the creative side of them.
Yeah. Did they do Venom?
They did do Venom.
Okay, this is very much a Venom movie.
Yeah, it feels like the same studio who made Venom, doesn't it? It feels like the same people who did Venom. Not the same creative.
Pretty sure there's a shot during the fight, the final fight, that was the same as the Venom shot. Their final fight.
Yeah, Venom's another movie that I would say is a Sony movie. It feels like a Sony movie.
It's also about a 5.
Okay, all right. There you go. That is Bloodshot. Hopefully you found some enjoyment in our rambles about the movie. Hopefully you enjoyed. And you can let us know what you thought of Bloodshot in the comments below. If you happen to have seen it, you can like and subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at @mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show, we mentioned Patreon earlier, patreon.com/mailfuzztv. Go and have a look over there. But of course, liking stuff on YouTube does help a lot. It lets YouTube know that you think this content is worth people seeing, and they'll share it a little bit more if you do so. So please do give it a like. Also rate us on Apple Podcasts if you're listening to us on there. 5 stars, little review. Again, same idea. It lets them share it out to more people. So do all that. Tara, would you like to promote anything else that we do here on MailFuzz TV? Anything coming up, perhaps, that you may want to promote?
Anything coming up? We'll be back. Same bad time, same bad channel.
I mean,
with another review.
I was suggesting you'd want to promote the tournament thing.
Oh, I don't really know what that is yet. Okay. I know that I've agreed to it.
All right, yeah. So we're doing a tournament of Spielberg movies, 16 Spielberg movies, going head to head, one round at a time, and we're going to all sort of argue our case in the comments. So we get to decide on YouTube what the winners are, and it should be a fun time and cool and wacky and something different. And we'll see if it works. If it works, it'll be something we do more of, and if not, then no big deal. And watch the train wreck, I guess. Watch it crash and burn if it's terrible.
Fun.
But that'll be coming soon-ish. I imagine the first round will start going out before the end of May, but I don't want to lock any concrete stuff into it. All right.
Got it.
But yeah, so yeah, check out all the things. But that is us. That has been the Atomic Cinema Experiment.
What about next week?
Oh, that's right. You like to tell them what we're doing next week. It's a good plan.
Yeah. Even
though it's got us into some trouble recently that I've had to edit because we've changed things after the fact.
Shut up. It's my fault.
I never said whose fault it was. I was just saying that this is why you maybe Okay, but I can tell him. What do you want to tell him? We'll tell him.
Yes.
Okay, Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. We're wrapping up the Jurassic Park movies so far, of course, with Fallen Kingdom next week. So something a little bit
Cool.
different, yeah. And then after, in fact, the very week after that, I'll give you a little bit more of a glimpse in the future. The very week after that, we're actually doing a vote winner, which also happens to be the start of the next franchise. So we're wrapping up one, and we're going straight into the next franchise the following week. Which, if you pay attention to the vote winnings of patreon.com/MailFuzzTV for last month, it is Planet of the Apes. So
Wow, that's like a dozen movies. And only one really bad one.
We'll see if I agree with that. I'm not. We'll see. But there's a bunch of fun ones, and there's like 4 either close to or straight up masterpieces. So like more on those later. But yeah, that has been the Atomic Cinema Experiment. We're in the 60s now in terms of episode number, so hopefully you're still sticking with us. So thank you very much once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching science fiction movies, guys, and computer at Salsa.
Yeah.